Hey, my name is Mark and welcome to Northwest Bourbon. Today I am setting up a blind tasting and making kind of an instructional video to show people how to do it if they're not really familiar with the process, because it takes a lot of creativity and a lot of foresight for the people that are going to be drinking. So get ready. Hey guys, thanks for joining me. I've been watching a lot of WhiskeyTube and have not seen any instructional videos on how to set up a blind tasting. And so that's what I'm trying to do for you guys today. Setting up a blind tasting takes a lot of foresight and creativity and just a lot of thought put into how to do it. Alright, so if you're interested in setting up a blind tasting for some of your friends, first thing you got to do is get friends that enjoy drinking bourbon. So okay, let's find some friends. Shoot. Oh, okay. There, found some friends that like to drink bourbon. Okay, next thing I gotta do is get some good bourbons that would be fun to try in a blind. Boom! There you go. Alright, this goes back to my first video. A blind tasting of double oaked bourbons. Got Woodford Reserve Double Oak, Woodinville Double Oaked, Old Forester 1910, and Heaven's Door Double Barrel. Now the reason why I chose these bourbons is because you might have a favorite bourbon, or you might already think you know which one is your favorite, but until you try them side by side, comparatively blind, you don't really know which one is your actual favorite. I did a blind with some of the other guys in Northwest Bourbon, and one of my bourbon brothers had already expressed to me that a particular bourbon was one of his favorites. Okay, so I bottled up and gave little sample jars of 4 different bourbons, right? And he picked that one as third. The one that he had just told me that was one of his favorites, he had ranked third on the list of 4. I thought that was very interesting, that what you might think in your head, your preconceived notion of what your favorite bourbon is going to be, might not actually be your favorite if you try it side by side with some other bourbons, that, especially if they're very similar. Alright, so let's get back to setting up the blind. We have friends that like to drink. We have bourbons that we want to sample side by side. Now next thing we need is some sample vials. So I went on Amazon and got a box of vials. Just typed in whiskey sample vials and came up with all kinds of results. Pick the one that has the right size and quantity that you're looking for, order it, and then wait patiently for you to get it at your door. Boom, look, got my sample vials. Check that off the list. So when your sample bottles come in the mail, they'll come with little funnels so you can fill them up. Now if you have the choice, don't pick the ones with the little metal funnels, because they form too hard of a seal on the top of the sample bottle. Now I'm not a scientist or anything, but it seems like it creates sort of a vacuum and makes it so it doesn't keep pouring in there, and you got to keep manipulating this thing, because all of a sudden it starts filling up the funnel. So if you have a choice, get the plastic funnels that have the longer spout on them, because those guys pour in there much easier. Alright, next you're going to need a designation system of how you're going to identify each one of the bottles. That way when you and the other people you're drinking with are writing down their notes or ranking them or whatever your system is, that way you'll be able to identify them. So you can do anything from number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, or A, B, C, D, or write words like blue, orange, yellow, banana. You can write anything on the bottles, so when you give them to your friends, they have a designation system for which one they are drinking at that time. Then when you're ready to drink, grab 4 similar glasses. So you just write that on the bottom. And then write your designation system on the bottom of it. I have these ones just A, B, C, and D. Okay, then you have to have some notes to go with it, because you don't want to lose track of which one was which, right? So grab some little cards. and write your A, B, C, and D on one side of the card. Now on the other side of the card, you're going to write the name of it. So, scenario 1, you're not drinking. You're sending a blind to somebody else and you just want the results back because for some reason you don't want to partake in it. Or maybe you're running a competition or something. And so the next step is you just write the names of the bottles on the cards. Too easy, good to go. If you're like me and you want to participate in the blind tasting, but you don't want to know which one is in which, because that's not a blind for you, right? It's a half blind if you get somebody else to pour the bottles and then have them write on the A, B, C, and D which one is which. So now you're half blind because you know what's in the competition with each other, but you don't know which one is which is what I'm going to be doing tonight. A fun thing to do with your friends, which me and my bourbon brothers did, is each one of us contribute a sample. So you have each one of your friends give you a bottle. That way, you only know what's in one of the 4 bottles. It's too easy. So you got scenario number 1, you're not drinking. Scenario number 2 is that you are participating in the blind, but you don't want to know which one is which. Scenario 3 is each one in your group is contributing 1 bottle, all adding into the blind, and then you guys are comparing them against each other, not knowing what each other put in, so you only know what is in one of the bottles. That's the most complicated one logistically. So let's stick with the scenario that you are participating in the blind, but you are the one filling all of the bottles. Now to do this, like I said before, is you have cards, just going A, B, C, and D. Then for each one of the bottles, you fill up however many bottles are necessary for the members of your blind tasting group. Alright, let's get this blind tasting going, shall we? Alright, so now we've got all of our glasses filled with our blind flight, but we just poured them. Now this scenario works if you have 2 different bourbons in your house right now that you want to try blind side by side. This works perfect for that scenario as well. In glass A, I've got Woodford Reserve Double Oak. In B, I've got Woodinville Double Barrel. In C, I've got Old Forester in 1910. And D, I've got Heaven's Door. So if you are sending your samples out to other people, then you can put all those cards in an envelope and send them with the sample vials. That way, when they're done with their tasting, they can look and see what they were actually drinking and compare it with their notes. And this step was completely unnecessary since I'm doing it by myself. Okay, so now I've got all my samples poured into my 4 glasses. On the bottom of the 4 glasses, it has the letter designation of A, B, C, and D. Now I know what these already are. So on my paper for my notes, I write 1, 2, 3, and 4. Because after I mix them up, I'm not going to know which one's which. And so I will write all my notes for glass number 1 under the glass number 1 column. And then I will be able to write down that it is glass A or glass B or glass C at the end after I'm done nosing, palate, finish, and I also do proof and rank them. I'll rank which one I like best. Because that was the whole purpose of comparing all these double barrels together, right? The double oaks. Okay, so to mix these up, you can just do one of these games where you're trying to mix them up as so, right? But I feel like subconsciously I'm still kind of tracking which one is which, because you know, you play that, there's the ball underneath the cup game, and you're trying to watch which one is which. And so what I made myself, that way when I'm doing a blind tasting, I can really know that I don't know which one is which, and I'm not kind of subconsciously tracking which glass is A, which glass is B. You make a turninator, right? Just kind of like a lazy Susan, but it also messes up the order. So I have the turninator. So I'll put them all in the turninator and just have them spin around, and I have no idea which glass is which now. I lost track already. Now I considered making the Turninator just look solid black, because given its name, and I just thought it would look slick if it was all black, but I couldn't resist making it red, white, and blue. I just couldn't. It screams made in America. Now making a Turninator or another mixation device for your glasses so you can mix them up and know that you don't know which one is which anymore was easier than I thought it would be. You know, every time you go somewhere and you see free pallets, you grab one because you're like, sweet.
Hey, good news. I got more pellets. Free wood.
So now you have a stack of pallets in your backyard that you have no idea what you're going to do. You rip off some of the planks, measure them up according to how big you want your device to be, then cut them, but cut them safely. Cut them before you start drinking, and cut them with the proper protective equipment like your eyes and your ears. So after you've cut them, you'll want to sand down the ends. That way every time you're not grabbing your turnation device, you're not getting splinters, because that's not fun. That's not cool. Nobody wants to drink with splinters. And so after you cut it, sand it, decide what you want it to look like, paint it, drill some holes in it, put washers between the wood, and put a nut and a bolt through it, because a screw or a nail is not going to allow the freedom of movement that having a bolt through it will. Now once you got your glasses all mixed up, you're ready to start tasting. So if you're the one setting up the blind, you can instruct the people participating on how you want them to score the system. If you want them to just rank the drinks against each other, or if you want them to try to guess what the bottles are, or just guess what the proof is within 2 points, within 10 points, guess how much it costs. Anything you want them to guess to make it more fun, you'll know what's going to be more fun for your audience because you know who your friends are. And so come up with a system. I usually do, I take notes on what's on the nose, the palate, and the finish. Then I try to guess the proof and then I just rank them on which one I like better. Okay, so glass one. It's like a cherry vanilla soda. I'm getting a little bit of caramel popcorn. Cherry, vanilla, caramel, popcorn. Not popcorn. Definitely smell some wood notes, some very light caramel, almost a toffee, but there's corn in there too, which tells me it might be a little bit younger. But there's definitely some cherry, some vanilla, and some wood. So for glass one, I'm going to write down what I got on the nose. And you see the color on that is a really nice amber. It's a little bit oily, a little viscous, nothing too crazy. It is giving me a little bit of a Kentucky hug, but it's first drink I had tonight. But definitely got lots of brown sugar in there. It's pretty good. I'm not feeling any tingle, so there's little tricks I've picked up on picking proofs. Like if it makes my bottom lip tingle, then I'm getting around 115. If it makes the back of my tongue tingle along with my lips, then I'm looking at something much higher, like something, 125, 120, 130. So kind of like people's tells when they're lying in poker or something. So something that will help you guess correctly when you're doing blinds is pay attention to what you're feeling physically when you're not doing a blind. There's a little bit of a stale cherry, like a little bit of a stale cherry, but not like a banger or rainier like a regular cherry, like a maraschino cherry, you know. But it's a dry maraschino cherry. It's not as sweet anymore because you left it out on the counter when you were drinking, and then the next morning you came and ate it because you thought it'd be a good idea, but it wasn't. But it tastes good. With lots of brown sugar, a little bit of wood. Like I said, it's kind of oily. The finish is kind of corny. Like I ate some corn. I can taste corn in the finish and wood. Some slight fruit notes, but nothing too crazy. So I've got my notes for the nose, the palate, and the finish. And the proof. Let's move on to glass 2. My guard dog is keeping people at bay. Ooh. There's a light berry, like you opened a jar of jam that's diluted. Like you're at Denny's and you open one of those little plastic squares of mixed berry jelly to where it kind of reminds you of how a berry should smell, but it's not really. Not getting much caramel or any of the other notes I usually get from bourbons. It's got a pretty similar color to the one. Ooh, got a real quick little tingle on the front of my tongue, and then a little bit of warmth going down. This one has got a couple sharper notes than the first one, and it's not as oily and viscous as the first. Got a little bit of like a plum or something in there. I like the flavor in glass 1 better already, but I feel like this one, glass 2 is a higher proof than glass 1. Oh man, that's good. I really like that. Yeah, there's like a fig flavor. There's an abnormal fruit note that goes along with the wet wood. It's weird because it's almost like the finish is stronger than it is on the palate. That's an interesting glass. Alright, rinsed out. Let's try moving on to glass 3. Ooh, heavy caramel. Like this is thick caramel. Man, that has the darkest, most beautiful smell. Oh, that is, you just got an ice cream sundae covered in dark, rich caramel and fudge, and there's definitely a cherry on top. Man, that smells sweet. Oh my goodness, can you guys smell that? Jeez. This thing smells like it's just loaded with sugar. And not like white sugar. I'm talking like you poured a glass of hot fudge sundae with extra caramel in it. Oh, very mouth coating. Super viscous. Just not thin oily like glass 1. It is thick oily. Like it is letting my mouth know it is here to party. There's molasses, there's fruits, there's caramel. Not too much wood. Not a whole lot going on with the proof, but I feel like the proof might be a little bit higher than glass 1, but the proof isn't as high as glass 2. But that is sweet. I think this is number 1 so far. It's just, it's an experience, you know what I mean? It gives you what you want in a full body drink, to where when you drink it, you're not thinking about something else. All you think about is that drink. Nice solid finish. There's like a stale sweetness going on in the finish, to where it's like you just got done eating some Laffy Taffy or some Tootsie Rolls, but not the chocolate Tootsie Rolls. Those other colored flavored ones, like the cherry and the vanilla and whatever other flavors they had. To where you're left like, I need a drink of water. My mouth and my throat feels dry and stale, but it's still like really sweet, and it's really good. It's really, I really like that one. That's number 1 so far. Alright, moving on to glass 4. We're finally here with you. Finally here for you, glass 4. What do you got? Ooh. This is the second sweetest nose next to glass 3. Sweeter nose than glass 1 or 2 by far. Not quite as sweet as glass 3, but it's pretty dang close. Tell you what. Smells like Cracker Jacks. Vanilla. Caramel, wax, vanilla, nuts. Oh, there's another note in there. I'm having such a hard time putting my finger on it. I'm not very good at this. I'm just not. But I absolutely enjoy it. It's really fun. It's like I opened up some candy in the movie theater, like a little Cracker Jacks box, to where I can smell the wax paper. There's a little bit of fruitness to it, but not too much. But definitely caramel and nuts and corn. And vanilla. Oh man, I think I know which one that is. I do. I will be very surprised if this is not the 1910. But like I said, I'm not a bourbonatologist or anything like that. I'm super amateur. See how dark that bad boy is? There's only a little bit left in this glass, and you see how dark it is? That is some good stuff. If I put cherries and bananas on my waffles and had a nice thick glazy syrup to put on it as well, this is what I would feel the aftertaste to be like. The finish is giving me all that. So on glass 4, I'm writing down that the finish was like I ate banana pancakes with a thick cherry syrup. Because that is what is going on in my throat right now. Alright guys, so I've got my notes. I've got my nose, my palate, finish, the proof guesses, and ranked. So I got rank number 1. I think number 3 is my number 1. If I run out of number 3, I'm going to buy it again freaking immediately. I always want to bottle it out of my bar. Like, if I'm looking for something a little different, a little bit sweeter, a little bit more of a very full-bodied but totally satisfying type drink, I'm going to always have number 1 on my bar. Then I got number 4 is number 2. My number 3 is number 1. And my number 2 is number 4, which I really liked glass. I really liked glass 2, but compared to the other ones, it just wasn't as satisfying. You know, it didn't have like the whole. It didn't have the whole picture. You know, like the complete portrait wasn't there for me, and so glass 2 is ranked 4th, but I'd still buy it again. It is freaking good. Alright, so let's get on to the big reveal. Let's see which one was which. So I got my cards telling me the designation A, B, C, and D and which one was which. And so now, just have to look. What did I rank number 1? Number 1 is A. I liked Woodford Reserve Double Oak. Was number 3. It is known as a dessert bourbon, just full of sweet goodness, and it is just fun. If I told you what these 4 were going to be before I did a blind tasting of them, of which one was my preference, my number 1 out of these 4 bourbons, I would not have picked Woodford Reserve Double Oak. I would not have. But it came out on top. It's just good. So number 3 is A. Alright, how close was I on the proof? I wrote down 100, and this is 90.4. So if I was playing a 10-point game, I would have just barely made it. Alright, let's move on. I said number 2. I said glass 2 was my... No, shit. So I said glass 4 was my second favorite. So let's see what glass number 4 was. That was Charlie. C. Old Forester 1910. What did I say? Called the bottle. That's good stuff right there, I tell you what. Alright, so I ranked glass number 1, number 3. And number 1 is B, which was Woodinville Double Barrel. So that means that Heaven's Door came in last in the Double Barrel Bourbon Off. Just made that up. It's gonna stick though. So interesting. Heaven's Door is the only one of these 4 that's sourced. All the other ones are not. That was freaking delicious. I would totally do it again. 10 out of 10 would bang. Hey guys, thanks for joining me for this. I appreciate you watching. Please hit the like button, comment, start a conversation, subscribe to the channel. I really hope that some of you out there that have never set up a blind tasting before have gotten some good information on how to do it, because that was the intent. But I really enjoyed doing the Double Barrel Bourbon Off and seeing which one of these guys I liked more. It was a lot of fun. So I'm going to leave you with a real quick bourbon joke. So a guy gave a glass of bourbon to his chameleon. And then all of a sudden his chameleon couldn't change colors anymore. So he took it to the vet, and the vet said he had a reptile dysfunction. It's caused by the whiskey. That's a really bad bourbon joke. Hope you guys have a good one. Please, like I said, like, comment, subscribe. Keep your drinks wet. See you next time. Cheers.